Welcome everyone to the second quarterly Wreaths Across America Teach webinar, co-hosted with the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. We are so happy that you could join with us today. Wreaths Across America is a 501c3 nonprofit organization headquartered in Columbia Falls, Maine. The mission of Wreaths Across America is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. In 2023, Wreaths Across America, along with 3 million volunteers, placed 3 million wreaths in over 4,200 cemeteries and monuments across the United States. 1/3 of those volunteers were children. Even though the laying of the wreaths is perhaps the most visible part of what Wreaths Across America does, it is only one part of the year-round mission to remember, honor, teach. The Wreaths Across America Teach program is a part of that year-round mission. Wreaths Across America Teach program is a service-based curriculum designed to share educational materials from philanthropic and patriotic organizations and encompasses all grades starting in kindergarten through the senior year of high school. The Teach program, which consists of stories of courage and character, regularly introduces new educational materials, further focusing on character development and service projects for young people of all ages. This program is free to download at www.wreathsacrossamerica.org/teach or on Teachers Pay Teachers. Here are just a few of the many lesson plans that are available for free on the Wreaths Across America Teach page or on the Teachers Pay Teachers page. Each of the comprehensive lesson plans are standards-based. And so just a few little tidbits before we get started. Everyone, of course, is muted during this webinar, and we encourage you to use the chat option as we are going through, as Andrew is going through, talking about participation in the Library of Congress page. If you have questions, we'd be happy to answer any and all of those questions at the end of this second part series. This webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording will be emailed to the email address that you used when you registered for the webinar. My name is Cindy Tatum. I am the Education Liaison Curriculum Developer for Wreaths Across America. I am a retired educator with 26 years of experience in public education. I am also the proud Gold Star mother of Corporal Daniel Lee Tatum, United States Marine Corps. I am excited to introduce my co-host for this series, Andrew Hubert. Andrew is a liaison specialist for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. For the past 9 years, he has helped individuals, organizations, and congressional offices across the country to establish oral history programs to document the stories of veterans in their community, as well as to create community interview events to celebrate and honor our veterans. Andrew has led workshops and conducted guest lectures, educating thousands on the importance of preserving the stories of all veterans. He is particularly interested in getting those stories of the underrepresented veterans that we have across the United States. And that includes the Native American veterans, women of color veterans, and the Pacific Islanders and Asian American categories. Andrew lives in Washington, D.C. with his wife, his cats, his dog. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Cindy. Thank you so much for having me. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be presenting this in conjunction with such an amazing group like Reads Across America. This is the second webinar we've done with you. The first one was incredible. This one's going to be even better, but thank you so much for hosting me and giving me this platform to address all of these educators. Before I start, actually, something about that introduction just reminded me. I am actually going to be in Hawaii and Montana next month, recording stories of Native Hawaiians and on the Blackfeet and Rocky Boys reservations in Montana. So if there are any educators joining us from Hawaii or Montana, and you would like to participate in person, there are opportunities for that next month. So put your info in the chat, and I'd love to connect with you. So this is part 2 of our webinar series. This one is about using the Veterans History Project for research. Now, in case you didn't join us for our first one, I'm just going to do a little bit of recap about what the Library of Congress Veterans History Project is and how people can participate, not only by using us for research like we're going to talk about today, but how veterans can share their stories and add their own experiences to the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. Now, VHP, as we call ourselves, was created in the year 2000 by a unanimous act of Congress. That bill was sponsored by Representative Ron Kind, and it came about because he was talking at a Father's Day barbecue with his father, who was a World War II veteran, who was sharing stories that he had never heard before. And he had his son with him, who was too young to really understand. And he realized, well, wait a minute. What if my dad's not around and my son's old enough to listen to these stories? I want him to be able to hear Grandpa's World War II stories. So he got a camera, he recorded his father speaking about his World War II experience so that in case anything ever happened to his father, or, just after his father passed, they would always have those memories that his son could share in and his whole family could share in. And he realized, well, wait a minute, if that's useful for my family, that's useful for families across the country. So in sort of a rare act of Congress doing sort of exactly what it should be doing, he went back to DC, he introduced the bill that created VHP, and that law was that bill was signed into law by George W. Bush, and it gave us our mission, which is to collect, preserve, and make accessible the personal accounts of American war veterans so that future generations may hear directly from them and better understand their selfless service. Now, what that means to me is that, you can look in a history book and you can see the names of wars and the names of battles, the dates that they happen, and maybe one or two names of people who participated, usually generals and officers, MacArthur, Westmoreland, Schwarzkopf. But what you're not going to see in those history books are the individual stories of those veterans who fought in those conflicts or made fighting in those conflicts possible in the case of veterans who were not at the front lines, but who were no less important. So that's what VHP does. We collect those individual stories of veterans, and they could be, something you would definitely expect us to collect, like fighter pilots. But they could also have things that you might not expect. This is one of my favorite stories. Wendy Cram, he was a ski instructor. He was actually supposed to represent the U.S. in the Winter Olympics when they were canceled because of World War II. So he enlisted, and they sent him to the 10th Mountain Division to Leadville, Colorado at Camp Hale, where he taught infantrymen how to ski in preparation for an assault on the Italian Alps. Or right up here, we've got a Code Girl who responded to a newspaper ad that said, "Are you good at crossword puzzles? Call this number." A few weeks later, some men in suits showed up at her doorstep and said, "Do you want to join the Army?" And it turned out she was recruited into a top secret program where they shipped her to Washington, D.C., and she was cracking German codes. So all of these cool stories that you're probably not going to read about in history books, spoken directly from the veterans in their own words. And that's what the Veterans History Project is at its core. And it doesn't matter if you've never deployed, never seen combat. Every veteran's story is unique, and every veteran's story is wanted. And the way that we collect these stories is through a few different methods. All of our collections are primary sources. They are all veterans speaking about their own experience in their own words, with the exception of Gold Star families in which case they are speaking about a direct family member who died as a result of their service to our country. And then the way that they contribute these stories are through oral history interviews, along with original correspondence, original photographs and artwork, and diaries, journals, and memoirs that were written either during or after their service. Now, most of our collections, probably a good 80–85%, are these oral history interviews. Just one person sitting down with a veteran, maybe a family member, maybe a community member, maybe a coworker. Doesn't matter who, you don't have to be related. It just has to be a US veteran. And then they ask them a few questions and then record their answers about their service. It's super easy to do. You can do it with the phone you have in your pocket right now. So that's the majority of our collections. However, we also accept these other primary source materials, which are going to be a lot of what we're talking about today. Because in that research, the oral history interviews are absolutely wonderful source of information. But when you're talking about primary sources like letters, photos, diaries, things that were written as the action was happening, as these historic life events were occurring. Oh, no. Sorry about that. As these historical events were occurring, you get more accurate information. Sometimes with these oral history interviews, they're happening 10, 20, 30, in the case of World War II, now 75 years after the fact. And memories get hazy, stories get exaggerated. Sometimes the line between, what happened and what you thought happens gets a little bit blurry. But when you've got those letters, those photographs, those diaries that are being written as it's happening, you know that you're getting the most accurate information possible. So that's what veterans donate to the VHP so that we can archive them and make them available to researchers like yourselves and the students in your classrooms so that they can do their research projects, write books, make movies, do whatever they want to do with them. And trust me, people are doing things with these all the time. Actually, as of last count, we had over 850 books that have been written with VHP's collections as primary sources, including big budget documentaries, like if you've ever seen Ken Burns' The War or the Vietnam War. He got almost every veteran interview straight from the Veterans History Project. But, all the way up to people like Ken Burns, all the way down to, high school and middle school classrooms, from the greatest to the smallest, anyone can use VHP's collections, absolutely no cost whatsoever. So in terms of who can participate, veterans, any US veteran, regardless of whether they deployed or saw combat, can participate. That includes all the main branches: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. It also includes Coast Guard, Merchant Marines, and US Uniform Medical Service personnel as well. In terms of Gold Star collections, if you are speaking a story on behalf of a veteran who died as a result of their service to their country, that has to be a parent, spouse, sibling, or child telling that story. To interview a veteran, you don't have to be a veteran. Anyone in 10th grade or above can be an interviewer, and classrooms that are in 9th grade or below can still participate by having the students write the questions and then just having somebody in 10th grade or above be the actual interviewer. So that's just sort of a little bit about, who VHP is and what we do. The rest of this is going to be about using VHP for primary source research. And first of all, the first thing you should know is, what does a VHP collection look like? When I'm doing my research, when I'm showing my class, what are they actually going to see? And if I'm a veteran who's donating my story, what am I going to get from this? Well, every veteran who donates their story gets their own page on our website, and it is visible from anyone who has an internet connection. So this right here, you can see is Moses R. Rivas. He was an Iraq and Afghanistan War Navy veteran. And the cool thing that you can see right off the bat is that when you go into his collection, you can see, and these are all searchable as well, you can see all of this information about his service, what branch, what war he fought in, even down to the units that he served with and ships that he served aboard. So in this case, he was on the USS Thatch, the USS Gray, and this is all searchable. We're going to get to the search function in just a bit. But the very cool thing is this is all searchable and cross-linked. So you are always able to, if something interests you, you say, oh, this person has a great story and they were aboard the USS That, you can actually search for all of the other people who were aboard that ship as well. In addition to that service history, you also have the main bulk of the collections. In this case, we've got his oral history interview, which you can play right here from the website. And this veteran also donated some photos that were taken from his service. And this is a cool one because this was sort of right at the transition of when we were going from most people using film cameras to most people using digital cameras, which made my job a lot easier. So lots of people don't want to give up those precious photos that they've taken, but digital, you can just make a copy. So you've got these cool photos of the plane ride over. You've got them at their base. And all of this is freely available online. You've also got information on things like who interviewed them and who donated the collection, which is also really cool because if your school or your classroom starts interviewing veterans to donate, you will be able to see in one place all of the ones that you donated, so you can share and link those collections as well. So for instance, this one was done by the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America. We can click on this and we can see all 131 interviews that were done by the colonial dames. So if you're actually creating primary source collections, which you definitely should be, then that's a really cool way to share your hard work. Now, we have a bunch of ways that we make these collections available for researchers. Number one, and this is by far the easiest and most popular way, are what we call serving our voices. These are curated online digital exhibits that show, highlight and showcase sort of our greatest hits, our most requested, our richest collections with the most interesting subject matter and most amount of things like photos and letters, interesting supplementary materials. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, so when you go to, and you can do this straight from our home site, loc.gov/vets, you'll see in the Veterans History Project collection this tab that says Serving Our Voices. So we have, I believe, somewhere in the 50 to 60 range of these exhibits. Each one has a different theme. Our featured one is Vietnam this month, but you can go over here to all presentations by theme, and you can see everything we've got. So for instance, very first one, The Art of War. These are all the collections that we have that include, well, not all the ones, but this is a selection of the collections that we have that include really interesting artwork. So you click on that and you will see a hand curated bunch of of collections, all of which are related to artwork. Sumner Grant is a very cool one. Where's the one I was looking for? Oh, that's okay. Sumner Grant's a good one too. Sumner Grant was really cool because his was unique. He didn't just draw pictures, he illustrated all of the envelopes that he sent letters in. So you can see, and each one was sort of related to what was inside. And this one has, oh gosh, 146 different illustrated envelopes that he donated. So just interesting example of some pretty cool stuff that we've got related to veterans artwork. The themes are pretty wide ranging, and they are all organized by the categories. So like under diverse experiences in service, you can see African American collections, AAPI collections, Hispanic collections, Jewish collections, LGBTQ plus collections. And each one of those, when you click on them, they will bring you to that curated collection of, usually it's about 10 to 20 different handpicked collections that exemplify that category and are perfect for using in classroom discussions. So those are our Serving Our Voices online exhibits. We also have our research guides. Now, research guides are sort of like lesson plans. They can actually be used as lesson plans as well. I don't think that they conform to the exact guidelines, but they can easily be adapted. This one, we have a pretty big wealth of these research guides. And again, they're each on a particular subject about veterans. And then when you click on them, they have more in-depth info. So they've got a summary about the subject. So this is the 6th 888th Central Postal Battalion, which is actually one of my favorite stories from World War II. If you don't know about them, these were all African-American women. They were sent to England to, ostensibly their job was to sort the mail. But that is an unbelievable understatement because the army didn't know what to do with all of the mail that it was getting from soldiers because the battlefields and the front lines were moving so quickly that they didn't know where to send them. They'd get a letter off of a ship in England and they'd see who it was addressed to. And by the time they figured out where he was, he could be 30 miles away in a whole new area, in a whole new theater, in a whole new battle. So they got this 6th 888th Central Postal Battalion together, and their job was basically to be postal detectives. They would each be assigned a list of soldiers and get all of their mail, and they had to figure out as quickly as possible where these soldiers were so that they get them their mail. One of the experiences that was documented, they said when they came in, they had an entire warehouse stacked from floor to ceiling with nothing but letters and packages. And within a year, that warehouse was empty. So one of my favorite stories. It's really cool and well worth doing a lesson on. But that's one of our research guides. And it has the summary of exactly what you're going to be teaching about that story that I just mentioned. It's got timelines, so with the important dates and events. It's got citations. And most importantly, it's got a list of veterans that we have in our collections that pertain to that subject. So every one of these veterans here was served with the 6th 888th Central Postal Battalion. So you can click on this one, and they've got their profile and their collection. And not only do they have the summary of all of their service, they've got the full interview and the recording, as well as selected highlighted clips. So you don't even have to go through the entire recording to get to the good stuff. So these are incredibly valuable tools for your classrooms because each one is basically a lesson in a box. And I think we've got probably at least 40 or 50 of those to go through. In addition to the research guides, we also have story maps. These are just so cool. I love these. We have a couple research librarians on our staff, and sometimes we get our junior fellows to do these, but they put out one every couple of years. They are very resource and labor intensive, but the results are just phenomenal. So this one, for instance, D-Day Journeys, and this again can be an entire lesson in and of itself. They are curated stories related to these themes like D-Days presented in a very attractive visual manner. So each of these has, it follows these veterans on their journey through, in this one, it's D-Day, so in their journey through Europe. And it has all of the relevant primary source material. So we can go to this guy, Preston Earl Baggett, and it's all how it relates to the different locations that they served in. So you scroll down and it's got all of these maps. So it shows their training locations. It shows where they shipped out from, New York Harbor. And then in each one, it's got the relevant primary source material that from that location. So in this one, it's got that letter that he sent as he was shipping out of the New York Harbor. And you can go down, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can go veteran by veteran and, just relive their journey across the ocean to England. And each one of these has all of these different, service locations. So it's just a really cool and interactive way to follow a veteran on their military journey, just to see their story in visual and a spatial representation. In addition to those story maps, we have primary source sets. Now, these are essentially sort of like the the story maps, or the in which they follow one single veteran. They're just not quite as detailed or interactive. But again, each one talks about a particular theme and then has those primary source materials right there. And this is a wide variety of service locations, wars, time periods, and jobs. So we've got things like Thomas Hodge, who was a truck driver in the Vietnam War. And you can go here and it'll have the sorted out and ready-made clips describing those experiences as a Vietnam truck driver. And it's not just the oral histories, it's also the things like the original artwork with the illustrations, the letters, all of these things. So these are all sort of our, oh, that's a cool one too. These are all sort of our ready-made lesson packages that you can use for your classroom. And they're a great companion for not just history classes. This isn't just for classes that are learning about World War II or Vietnam. These are perfect for English classes. If you're reading the things they carried with your class, then you can go and research these supplementary materials about the Vietnam War. If you are reading All Quiet on the Western Front, you can go and read these primary source materials from veterans from World War I. The only limit is your imagination. Heck, art classes. This is great art that it's showing. You can really adapt this and use this for just about any classroom out there at any grade level. All right, and finally, searching the database. If you have gone through all of our prepackaged materials, or if there is a very specific sort of thing that you're looking for, or if you're just trying to teach your students how to better use a research database, you're going to want to go into sort of the advanced user mode and start actually searching down through our collections. Now, if you pay attention to absolutely nothing else in this entire presentation, pay attention to this, because for some inexplicable reason, whoever designed our webpage made it really complicated to get to the search function. It took, when we got our new website, it took me several months to consistently remember even how to do this. So listen up, this part's really, really important. From loc.gov/vets, our homepage, you have to go to Explore the Collections. Then you go to Search the VHP Collections. And then you're not done yet, because you have to go to the Collection Items tab and then expand out the advanced search. Again, I don't know why they made it this complicated. It's a little bit ridiculous, but those are the steps that you have to do to get to the advanced search. I will say that you can bypass a little bit of this, because once you get to going back to the homepage right now, once you do Explore the Collections and go to Search the VHP Collections, you are able to use this search bar right here to explore the VHP collections. However, you're not going to have that those powerful search tools that I'm about to describe. One thing that is incredibly important to remember is that when you go to our homepage, and again, don't know why they did this, when you're back at our homepage and you'll see the search bar here, but you are not searching the Veterans History Project collections from your homepage. You are searching everything that the Library of Congress has to offer, and which is great. You know, there's a lot of great stuff out there, but it's not going to be what you want if you're looking for Veterans History Project collections. You have to go to explore the collections, search the collections, and then you have to make sure it says this collection before you start using the search bar. Otherwise, you are going to get millions of search results from things all over the map. You know, we've got 26 different divisions and reading rooms at the Library of Congress, over 150 million collection items, which again, awesome wealth of resources, but more than you need if you are looking for Veterans History Project materials. All right, so once you have gone to the collection items and expanded the advanced search, here is where you get to the real power user stuff. So all of these things can be combined with keywords. So first you have these 9 fields: wars and conflicts, service branch, service unit, location of service, battles and campaigns, highest rank, prisoner of war, race, and gender. And again, all of these can be combined. However, it can be a little finicky, so you do want to be careful. And I'll show you an example of this. So for instance, if you are looking for American Indian or Alaskan Native veterans who are in Cold War, sometimes these will reset, see? And it takes a little bit of experimentation, unfortunately, before you find out what order you have to do everything in to make sure it doesn't delete itself. This is being fixed. It's a known issue. It is in progress. Just something to be aware of if you're doing research right now. So again, all of these can be combined to narrow this search down to be, you know, very, very granular and focused. And it can be combined with keywords. So if you wanted to say, oh, so I'm going to Montana next month. If I wanted to find a American Indian veteran of the, we don't know, I don't actually know if there are any, but if I wanted to find a American Indian or Alaskan Native veteran of the Cold War from Montana, I could combine those and search. And we have one. Wow, we have one single Montana American Indian Cold War veteran, Francis M. Hatcher. So you can see again how this is a really useful and powerful search tool, and you can mix and match and combine however you want. One thing you may be asking is, where is it getting all this info from? That is a very good and important question, because the way that we get this, the search material, is from you. It's from people who are participating in the Veterans History Project, who are interviewing veterans or collecting those primary source materials to donate. So if you've done a VHP interview before, you will notice that this looks familiar. This is our audiovisual log, and that is one of the 4 required forms that every applicant or every submission has with it. The biographical data form, which is where we get the brief service history, where we get things like branch of service, wars and conflicts, locations of service. That's all stuff that's asked on the biographical data form. And then when they fill that out, it goes into our database and it comes right here. The other forms, the veterans release form and the interviewers release form, those are also very important, but don't have anything to do with our database. But finally, the AV log form, which is our 4th form, it is, and you'll know this again if you've ever done any of our interviews, as you're doing the interview, as the veteran is talking, you're just writing brief notes about the topics of conversation covered in the interview, and ideally where in the interview it's happening. This is not a transcript. This is not a word for word verbatim copy. You know, it's just, you know, a paraphrase of the different information presented and stories told. But what this does is this all gets scanned and digitized. And actually, I take that back. It's not scanned and digitized. It is manually entered by our wonderful processing team into our database, which is what the search function is drawing off of. So if you are looking for, so for instance, on this one, they're talking about the veteran heard about Pearl Harbor while they were in the Great Lakes Naval Station doing their Navy training. If you are looking, maybe you're writing a book on people's reactions about what it was like when they found out about Pearl Harbor, it's in the notes, it's in the database, it's searchable. So if you search for, hearing about Pearl Harbor or just Pearl Harbor on that search function, it's going to come up because it was in that AV log form. So this is where the database gets its information from and why it's super important when you are contributing a VHP collection that you fill out that AV log form and you fill it out as detailed as possible. So that is a brief overview of the Veterans History Project resources and primary source materials, along with our lesson plans, our research guides, our story maps, and our online exhibits. I am going to turn it over to the Library of Congress's teacher in residence, who is actually not here with us live. He was not able to make it, but he recorded a really cool video about both using VHP for primary source research and also using teaching with primary sources in general as a part of the Library of Congress's Teaching with Primary Sources program.
Hello and greetings. My name is Tyron Bay. Across America. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm really proud of the work that you guys do with Reese Across America. I myself am a veteran as well. And so now that I've transitioned from veteran to teacher and soon to be administrator, just wanted to thank you guys for the service that you guys provide to our veteran community. And prayerfully, as we go through this process, you'll learn about the resources that the library has for veterans, for military members, for teachers as they try to teach with primary sources here at the library. So today we're going to have a very simple process. We're going to look at what is a primary source and kind of analyze a primary source. And then after we analyze that primary source and I show you some tools or resources you can use to do that, we're going to give you an overview of resources here at the Library of Congress. Now, before we get started, let's talk about, well, what is a primary source? So the Library of Congress defines a primary source as the raw materials of history, the original documents and objects that were created at the time under study. And one of the things that I love about the library is that we have documents from 1300s, 1200s. So we talk about time under study. There's a lot of time here that we can study. And I think that understanding how a lot of students today feel like, hey, am I really getting true information? This particular library, the Library of Congress, has such a plethora of pieces of resources that could be used to dive deep and pull so that you can understand a particular topic in depth and have other sources that corroborate the information that you guys have. So I want to be mindful that as we look at these primary sources, they can be old, but all these sources tell a very deep story. And we're going to see that play out in our presentation today. Now, I said all these sources, but we're really going to look at one source today. We're going to analyze and break it down deep. So I want you to take a look. The source that we're looking at today is a map. I want you to look at this map and as you look at the map, I want you to kind of identify, what do you first notice? Okay. And then what would you use this map for? What information is the map giving you that you could make a use out of? And finally, what questions does the map bring up for you? What are you wondering as you look at this map? Now, let's take a look at the map with more information, okay? Now that you have the full map, what new information do you have? What would this map have been used for? And now that you have this new information, what new questions do you have? Does this bring up for you? Some questions that I'm wondering as I look at this map. The map is in French, and then it's got some English letters on it: fox red, fox green, fox red, easy green. What does that mean? What's going on between fox and easy? What's going on? As this map looks like a topography map, I'm wondering how hilly is this information. What I take away biggest is the top secret. Like, what's going on? This is top secret. And it's interesting how even maps that you would think would be accessible to anybody would be considered top secret. What's on this particular map that's making it top secret? Is it like it's a beach? I'm wondering, or it's a water space. Everybody can see the water. So what about the map? What information is on this particular map that's making us say it's top secret? There's a lot of pieces on here that I would pull out. And I wonder, what would your students pull out? And the key to primary source analysis is, let's just kind of let people talk it through, pull it out for themselves. Okay. Now, that map comes from the Veterans History Project, Joseph Peter Vahi collection. Joseph Vahi was a beach master at Normandy on June 6, 1944, a job he described much like a traffic cop at a very busy intersection. Beach masters controlled the flow of men off the ships, communicated with men already on land and ships at sea, and oversaw tending of the wounded. Vahi was the first man of his landcraft infantry, which soon afterward took a hit from an enemy shell. That day, he witnessed many acts of heroism, saw the oldest man in his company killed in an explosion, and ran into an old college classmate who asked, "Hi, Joe, what the hell are you doing here?" There are 119,000 collections for the Veterans History Project. That kind of shows just the vastness of what we have here available to you at the Library of Congress. Now, the library is full of resources that can be used in the classroom for primary source analysis. Now, this QR code will take you to the LOC.gov teachers page, which has a primary source analysis tool that encourages students to observe, reflect, question, and record their thought process when analyzing. This is a tool that your students can use to record their thought process actually written out. If you pay attention and see that the source analysis tool breaks down exactly how I was asking the question in context of observe what I had you guys first. What are you looking at? What's going on? Reflect. How would you use this information? And then question, what more information do you need to know so that you can get a better understanding of this particular resource that you have here? All right. Now, what are the benefits of using primary sources in your instruction? I personally believe that the benefit of using primary sources in your instruction is that the source itself becomes the lecture point. The teacher doesn't have a student wouldn't have to say that a teacher is kind of forcing them to believe a particular thing or see it from the teacher's point of view. All we're doing is looking at the source. We're looking at the particular interview, as we talked about Mr. Bahi, or we're looking at the map. What information do I get? And then I get to walk away with my own interpretation. I don't have to, there is no right or wrong answer. The answer is what did I take away from it? And being able to analyze these sources and do so fairly is what's going to really help corroborate a person's thought process, and having the thought process connect with these 2 to 3 sources that kind of help shape a story. I believe all of these sources help tell a story, and especially as we struggle with what is the story that we want the future to move forward with, I think the best way for us to come to that conclusion is to sincerely look at sources that are not encumbered, that are not tainted or thrown away or any type of thing like that. You can really dive deep and see what I love about some of the pieces we have at the library. You can see where somebody erased something and see where their mind process really was. And that's the main benefit that I feel you have from looking at primary sources. Now, if you look here, I'm going to share with you some resources that teachers can use to really drive home some of these pieces in your classroom. So what you have here is the first page on the LOC.gov website. This picture will always change. This picture is not always the same, but what does remain the same is this search bar at the top and these links, hyperlinks at the bottom. And so I want you guys to find where it says teacher, the hyperlink that says teacher. You're going to click on that hyperlink. And then when you're going to move forward, that hyperlink will bring you to the Library of Congress teacher page. And on this teacher page, you will see on the left-hand side about the different programs we have, be it teacher in residence. Hello, that's me. The teacher of primary sources partner programs, where we partner with people. We will pay you to put together some primary source programs. If you guys connect with us as partners, different collaborations. But below all of that, we have the blog, Teaching with Primary Sources blog with the Library of Congress. So if you click on that blog right there, we click here, you'll come to a blog with hundreds of entries that talks about the various sources here at the Library of Congress. And with all of these blogs, they are designed to say, hey, this is a suggested way that you could teach this particular topic. Now, you will see here at the top, you would have a search bar where you can search just this blog, and you can type in a topic name, or you can type in a person's name, be it Abraham Lincoln or Madam C.J. Walker, you see here, or Frederick Douglass. And after you type that in, you'll be able to go to the site that will help you. I'm sorry, not just go to the site. It will pull up just that particular person that you're looking at, be it Madam C.J. Walker or Frederick Douglass or whosoever. Different blogs that we have about that person. Now we're going to come back to the teacher page, and the pieces at the top, these are the things you're going to actually pull for your classroom, and it's going to help improve your instruction. So since these are the pieces that are going to help improve your instruction, let's look at the one on the classroom materials. When you come to classroom materials, the side page is going to change. And when this changes, you will see that we have primary sources, lesson plans, and presentations. This is cut short, but they're all three right here. what you want to do is we're going to click on classroom materials. And when we click on that, we come to this page here, which is a plethora of primary source materials where you can just pull a whole bank of maps and posters and documents here at the library about Abraham Lincoln, about Alexander Hamilton, that you could use in instructing your students. The other big piece that I love is that this is designed so that you can pull a plan and just run with it. You don't have to spend too much time over analyzing the lesson plan. But the cool thing is, of course, you can always take a lesson plan and make it your own by differentiating the instruction and things of that nature. Okay, but there's it gives enough latitude, it gives you enough that you can run in on a short day, but simultaneously not so much you gotta be so rigid. Okay. Now, let's say you've gone through and you looked up the topics, you looked up the eras, you're trying to find what you're looking for, you cannot find it. I want you to go back to the front page. When you come back to the front page and like I shared earlier, these pictures change all the time. But you see, you still have these at the bottom, you still have this at the top. On the right-hand side of this, you will see this bar, this menu bar, and under it, you will see it say Ask a Librarian. You could go to Ask a Librarian, and that is almost like a chat bot, but it's not a chat bot, it's an actual person. And it's going to filter to whatever your topic is. You type in and say, I'm looking for information on the economy of the Civil War. It's going to filter to the librarian's office, or better yet, reading room, that would give you the best information. And even if you got to one room and they feel like, hey, a better room would be at another space, it's going to connect you to the librarian that's going to be able to say, come in and pull out this particular source. And even if you don't come in, maybe they will guide you online as well. And that's why I love Ask a Librarian, because if you get stuck with navigating the system, they are there to help out. So this here is our resource page. Pretty much everything that I went through today is here in the resources. Feel free to link into those at any time. Once again, I want to reintroduce myself. My name is Tyron Bay. I am the teacher in residence here at the Library of Congress. Again, I want to say that the work that you guys do at the Reads Across America is highly appreciated. And if you have any questions that I can be of help, feel free to email me at tby@loc.gov. Once again, my name is Tyron Bay. I'm the 23-24 teacher in residence, and it's been a joy and pleasure to be with you guys today. Thanks a lot.
All right, so that was Tyron talking a little bit about the Teacher in Residence program, teaching with primary sources, and the wider array of primary source materials and lesson plans that are available beyond just the Veterans History Project from the Library of Congress. So I hope we were able to sort of inform you about the different offerings that VHP and the Library of Congress have for educators and classrooms doing research. I know it was a lot of information to get through, but if you have any questions whatsoever, this is my email, ahub@loc.gov. And next steps, make sure to RSVP for our next workshop. That's going to be in, I think, August, September, I'm not sure, but we'll give you plenty of advance notice. Use this info that you got today, use our lesson plans to start planning a VHP-based lesson. And as always, have your students interview those veterans in their life and community, because we can't share those stories unless the veterans are giving those stories to us. So that's a really great activity that you can do with your classroom. And actually, I believe that's going to be the subject of our next one. So, we've got a few minutes left over, and I am more than happy to take questions.
Hi, Andrew. This is Amber. There was a couple questions in chat. I just wanted to make sure. So one of them was, obviously there's a lot of information shown. If you could pull together a cheat sheet, which you said that you could do for everyone, which we appreciate. Thank you very much for with those steps. And then also for people asking, we'll go ahead and include the field guide, the field kit link when we send this recording out to everybody. With that, I think that would be helpful for folks.
Yes, absolutely. And there is also, if you go to loc.gov/vets and click on the How to Participate tab, the field kit is right there to download as well.
Great. If there are any more questions, you can drop them in the chat, or, oh, it looks like Dustin has his hand raised. I'm gonna try, where are you? You're allowed to talk, Dustin, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I just did a quick little search through, you were showing the advanced search features. I didn't happen to see anything on the Civil War. Is that just kind of too far back in history for us to collect with, or?
Yeah, so the library does have many resources on the Civil War. The Veterans History Project does not, because when we started in the year 2000, there were no, obviously, Civil War veterans left to give their story.
Right.
So that was part, that's part of VHP's requirements, is that either the veteran is alive to tell their story, or a direct family member is, if they were killed in action. So obviously in the year 2000 we started, there were no Civil War veterans left. But if you go look at the other sections of the library, we have tons and tons and tons of Civil War material, just not in VHP.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Not seeing any other hands, and we do have some links in the chat. And like we said, when we send this recording out to everyone, we'll make sure that everyone has the links that they need. Oh, wait, Dulce Parker, you can go ahead and talk.
Yes, I'm a women veteran, minority, and I'm also a member of the American Legion, and I really want to participate in this program. I just met several women who were in the military in 1957 and 1959. And I really have a passion to collect their story. So I would like to see a copy or a video of the interview so I can get a good feeling on how to interview these ladies. Because some of them, their memory are going away, and we're going to lose the military experience. And I'm also a member of the Women Network, which is a whole big group of women veterans in US. So I'm gonna look and see if I can get a copy of the interview so I can get a feeling for that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely recommend you watching some of the interviews of veterans who are already on our website. Definitely, you can look at those in our Serving Our Voices or any of those collections. We do also, on the How to Participate tab, we do also have a 10-minute video that teaches you everything you need to know to do
Excellent.
it yourself.
Excellent. I've been looking for this since before the pandemic. And I sent an email to someone, and there was going to be a little training virtual. And then when the pandemic came, it went out. So for the last 2 years, I've been looking for this. I really want to start working as soon as I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
thank
And if you're still interested, if you've got a group who is interested in doing a virtual
Yes.
training, we are doing those again. So send me an email and I'd love to set that up for you.
Yes, that's exactly, I have a group and that's exactly one of our community project. So you're gonna hear from me.
Excellent. And that applies to anyone who is listening. For groups of 25 or more, we can actually send a professional oral historian to your location to conduct a training workshop on how to do these interviews at no cost to you. And for groups of less than that, just send me an email and we can set up a virtual one for your classroom or any group that you're a part of.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And you should be able to talk now. Just, you have to click the unmute button for yourself, but I did make it available, so just click the unmute button and you should be able to talk.
Got it. My question was, instead of sending someone out, can you also do a Zoom meeting with maybe a class of students who are studying social studies?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Just send me an email and I'd love to arrange that.
Great, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands